a grand jury. That's an ordinary tool in this situation. It sounds scarier than it is. But there's so much talk about what might happen if the special counsel does X, Y, or Z that you have a little bit of a political reaction to it. You have two senators, one Republican, one Democrat, putting their efforts behind a bill to protect the special counsel from being fired by President Trump. The senator in this couple is Democrat Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, joining us right now. I mean, couple in the political sense. Senator, you're getting together to do this. We appreciate you coming on to make the case this morning.
Thank you, Chris. Great to be on with you. And I'm honored to work with Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina on this important bill to protect the special counsel.
All right. So let's have you make the case. Let's test it. The starting position for the administration would be this is executive authority. You guys just tried to undercut the president from their perspective on the sanctions bill. You cut into the executive's ability to unilaterally negotiate. Now you're trying to cut into the president's ability again, that he should be able to tell his attorney general that a special counsel is inappropriate in a situation. There is legal basis for that. Why abridge it?
Well, right now, the reasons why the president, through the attorney general, can't just randomly fire the special counsel if he has a bad day or gets in a bad mood is embedded in some regulations in the Department of Justice. What we're doing is taking those standards and putting them into law so that it's clear that we as a co-equal branch in the Senate support checks and balances and the rule of law. Look, frankly, the president has this situation. If he's concerned about this situation, the only person he has to blame is himself. His repeated threats on Twitter against Attorney General Sessions, his repeated expressions that this Russia investigation is a fabrication, have clearly run into opposition from both Republicans and Democrats in the Senate. It is in everyone's best interest, the president's and the country's, that Bob Mueller be allowed to continue this investigation to its logical conclusion. If there's nothing there, then that conclusion will be broadly accepted by Republicans and Democrats. If there is something there, then it's in the best interest of the country for it to come to light. And I think this modest step by Senator Tillis and myself, that's mirrored by another bill that Senators Graham and Booker also introduced, is one way of our asserting ourselves as the Senate, just as we did with the Russia sanctions bill.
All right, a legal question and a political question. The legal question is your bill only doing what is already existent in the regulations for the DOJ, or are you going further in terms of curtailing the president's ability to move on a special counsel?
We're going further in providing a specific remedy. If the special counsel is fired, he within 2 weeks can go to a 3-judge panel. That panel looks at why he was fired. And if they decide it was an inappropriate firing, they can direct his reinstatement. So there isn't currently a clear remedy, and it's not a swift remedy. But this bill would introduce a clear and swift remedy, which is intended to be a deterrent against this president or future presidents from an inappropriate firing of a special counsel.
Why would
this is
it
also part of just strengthening the Department of Justice and its independence.
Why would it be constitutional to put that condition on a president's ability to move on a special counsel?
There are ways that the Congress can legislate that limits executive power. And I do think that in this particular case, what we're doing is simply putting in statute a process that allows a judicial review of whether or not a firing was inappropriate. There's already standards in executive branch regulations for when a firing is or isn't appropriate. This is simply clarifying what the remedy would be.
And is that how it exists right now? There's a lot of misinformation about this. This is why I'm digging down on it with you. As it stands right now, when can a president move on a special counsel? And I use the word move colloquially for a reason, because it is a gray area about how it works. It's an indirect process. It is a nebulous process. What is your understanding about what the basis for it is supposed to be?
If the president respects the rule of law and the process, he would direct the deputy attorney general, since the attorney general, Jeff Sessions, is recused from this matter, he would direct him to fire the special counsel. Now, the deputy attorney general, Rod Rosenstein, has already said publicly he would not fire Robert Mueller for anything short of cause. So there was concern among some of us in the Senate that he might fire either the Attorney General, given the tweets that he was issuing a few weeks ago, threatening Jeff Sessions' job, or that he might move against Rod Rosenstein. What he can actually do is indirect under the regulations of the Department of Justice. But the president, because he is the president, has the power to fire people at the Department of Justice until he finds someone who is willing to override those regulations and willing to override the traditional independence of the Department of Justice. That's roughly what happened with the so-called Saturday Night Massacre back in 1973 when President Nixon fired a series of senior Department of Justice officials until he found someone willing to do his bidding.
A worthy discussion, because we need to understand the balance of powers argument here. And then, just as important, we're going to have to see how this plays in the Senate. Let's see who gets on board with it, because it will really speak to the level of independence within that body right now. Senator Coons, thank you for coming on the show to make the case. Appreciate you being tested on it.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Brianna.
Well, the New York Jets scoring big with a special touchdown for a very